Hello, Hope. Hello, Sheila. It's so nice to see you guys. Thanks for coming. This is just going to be like an overview of what the program that's coming out is going to be looking like as it comes out. And then I don't know if you got the workbook information that I sent out, but you did. You can do that at your own time. But it's kind of like it's a good way to kind of check in with where you're at. And hopefully, like maybe every quarter or so, you can print out the book and kind of revisit these things and kind of see how things are going for you. But a lot of this for me has just been a lot of, personal growth over the years. And when I look back at the past like 3 or 4 years, I realized like these are some of the key pieces that really helped like change my life and change my mindset and help me, um, I don't know, just be the most confident version of myself I think I've ever been in my life. Like, and I think that that's something that everybody really struggles with. And sometimes it can be hard to figure that out. Like, I think confidence for all of us, I think sometimes we say, I'll be confident when, right? And we kind of have all these things that are like very future focused or whatever, like, or I'll feel, successful. I'll feel all these things when, and we have all these qualifiers when in reality, like we can do that now. Like we don't have to wait until some certain magic point or something, but it will take personal work to do that. Like a little bit of like focus and sometimes just like self-reflection and things. So I'm gonna kind of go over tonight, kind of like the process and the journey. And all the podcasts that come out are going to be like relevant to this stuff so that you guys can be encouraged and continue to grow. Um, and, if you're a person who is spiritual in some way or whatever, this stuff is also applicable. You know, um, it just comes from a place of knowing like, you have a belief system, but you're also human and you have free will and you have the ability to, make change for yourself through your own actions, even if you feel like there's a higher being that supports that in some way. So this is not like this excludes any sense of spirituality or anything like that. I just think that's important to kind of add as we go through different things. So let me switch over here and get the little presentation going. This is the main program. It's like 9 sort of phases or modules or however you want to call it. Um, so the first thing that we will kind of start covering now is really understanding self-agency. And this talk really is the beginning of that process. The next phase is helping you guys with self-awareness and acceptance, building confidence and overcoming limiting beliefs. And so you guys can kind of see these. I'm about to walk through each one, so I won't read them all aloud. That's just the basic overview. All right. So the first thing is going to be understanding self-agency. And some of you may not have heard of this term before, and I hadn't either until I started really just kind of digging into psychology and better understanding motivation and things like that, and understanding confidence and all these things. But really, agency is the sense of control that you feel in your life and your capacity to influence your own thoughts and behavior and have faith in your ability to handle a wide range of tasks and situations. Your sense of agency helps you be psychologically stable yet flexible in the face of conflict or change. And so I think that this is something that can really help everybody. It's like sort of like working out or doing muscle building things. Like you're working a muscle basically, and that muscle is working for you to feel basically like more in control of your future, like being in control of like how you feel. And I know that that's going to be a whole process that we kind of learn together. But basically, just a more strong sense of control, where you feel like you're in the driver's seat of your life and other people aren't, and things like that. Sorry, it's not progressing. Okay, so there are really 4 main parts that make up self-agency and psychology. So I don't want to bore you here, but I'm going to break these down. It's intentionality, forethought, self-reactiveness, and self-reflectiveness. And those 4 things work together to help you build your sense of self-agency. So intentionality is the ability to make conscious choices and take action to improve your life. You're not forced in anything, you choose, right? So that intentionality is that this is a sense that you have about yourself, that you recognize about you, that you get to make conscious choices, and that you get to take action. And so when you feel in control of your choices and you feel in control of your actions, then you can make forward progress because You are the person driving the ship of your life. And I know sometimes everybody has different circumstances. And so I know this may be like, Kim, this is like an ideal thing. I want to acknowledge like self-agency is a growth process. And so it's not like you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to be like, I have self-agency. Like, that's not how that works. Like, it's a process. And for a lot of us, it's going to be practice. And there's going to be days when you wake up and you may not feel always in control and things like that. So this isn't like a sense of perfection that you need to get to where you feel this way all the time. It's just a general sense of this. And when you have that general sense and you have general confidence in this, you're going to make much more forward progress in your life towards things you really, really want, um, because you believe that you're in the driver's seat. And also to mention with intentionality, just, I mean, having intention, right? And so it's similar to like setting goals, but like even if you just had one where you said, my intention this week is to do this, right? And so now you know that you are in the driver's seat of getting that done, whatever it may be. So forethought involves the ability to anticipate the outcomes of your actions. So I underlined anticipate the outcome because forethought is really all about anticipation. So it's for you to be able to say, I'm in control. And if I'm in control and I want to do these things, what are the outcomes I can anticipate in my life? And that might be, I want to um, save $5,000 in my savings account for the holidays, or it might be, I want to do this with my business. But basically, you're saying to yourself, like, if I have this intention, I can anticipate that this will be what happens when I do that. And you are able to say, okay, well, if I set goals, this is what this outcome is going to be. This is what's going to happen when I set these goals. And then if you make plans, you're going to be able to anticipate the outcomes of those plans. And that anticipation of those outcomes is what motivates you. Because you're saying to yourself, like, I know this is what I want. I know this is the end result, and that has to motivate me. But being able to have that forethought to come up with the things you want to do. And basically, it's almost like forethought is almost like vision casting. Like, it's you being able to say, like, I see this as the outcome. I want it, and I believe I can achieve it. The next piece of the self-agency puzzle is self-reactiveness, which is the process of regulating your behavior, motivating yourself, and building ways of acting, right? And so these are important, right? Because like how we react to what life hands us, what people hand us, what situations hand us is all about us being able to regulate our responses to those things. So being able to say to yourself, like, this person is making me angry right now. But I'm going to regulate myself and not react right now because, like, you're able to look at that person and say, maybe they're having a bad day. Like maybe there's something really rough going on in their life, right? So you're able to regulate yourself. It's also being able to motivate yourself. So like there's so many times like when I'm at the gym, for example, or somewhere else where I'm just like dead. Like I don't want to do whatever the next thing is. Like I don't want to move on, but somehow I have to reach deep inside and pull out whatever motivation I have left and just get it done. Sometimes for us, this could be, I just need to get the dishes done tonight. I just need to, finish this last paragraph of this thing that I wanted to write, or you know what I mean? Like it's just self-reactiveness has to do with also being able to know that you have the ability to motivate yourself and then building ways of acting. And so this last line says, you also have the power to react and make changes if something isn't working. So when it comes to self-reactiveness and goal setting, that's for you to be on the path and for you to say to yourself, wow, I really missed the mark with this particular goal. Like I was either way off. I've completely, something in my life has completely changed this situation where this isn't even my goal anymore. But just being able to react to what's going on and make changes, pivot, but then keep going. But this is all about your ability to do these things, like that you have the ability to do this. This is a strength that you have and something that you build so that whatever life brings your way, you can react in ways that are healthy for you. And so, again, we'll dive more into this as we get into it. And last is self-reflectiveness, which is the process of examining your thoughts, your actions, and functioning. Each one of you have the ability to take a step back and think about Like, why do I think about the world this way? Or why do I think about this situation this way? Why do I act this way in these situations? Or like, why am I taking these actions? And, you know, all these things about your personality, like your personal self, where you're just like, you just have the ability to take a step back and look at yourself and say, there's a reason behind what I'm doing. And I like to say that you have the ability to get to the root of your reactions. Like, why do I respond this way? And that's been, I think, a pretty big deal for me over the years, because I think that oftentimes in my personal life and everywhere else, like I tend to be a little bit more reactionary, like knee jerk reaction, instead of being able to take a step back and say to myself, like, why am I reacting this way? What is the root? Like, what's going on with me? Right. And so a lot of this stuff with self-agency is just being able to get comfortable with yourself and being able to get comfortable with how you see the world, get comfortable with how you think and how you feel, and get comfortable with why all of that is the way that it is. And then progressively changing it if it needs to be changed, or owning it if it needs to be owned. Okay, so the next part two, kind of the second phase of like what we're doing. So what I just talked about was all just sort of explaining self-agency. And this is me just sort of quickly breaking down the rest of the program, to explain kind of what we're working on. So self-awareness and acceptance. We're going to work to help you understand your unique personality and wiring, which I've always been a fan of, because that was a big part of my own journey. Once you understand your uniqueness, we're going to learn how to embrace it and use it to your advantage. And this is all going to be, like I said, like tools, podcasts, just knowledge stuff. Like this discussion we're having right now is very broad and very overviewed, but we're going to dig very deep into these things together. And I'm going to do it in a way where I feel like you're getting everything you need, but you can do it in the margins of your life, whatever you got going on. Okay, the third part of our program is going to be building confidence and overcoming limiting beliefs. So we're going to work on skills that help boost self-confidence, plus address and reframe a lot of the limiting thoughts or beliefs you have about yourself. I think this will be one of the most challenging particular parts for some people, because I think for most women, um, we don't fully understand confidence. And even when we think we've got confidence, it's short term. Like, it's not a lasting sense of ourselves. It's just a feeling like, okay, today I feel confident. Today, I went to this wedding and I dressed up and I felt pretty, so I felt confident. And what I want to shift people into is a general sense of confidence about yourself and your life all the time. It's not that that doesn't go away, because we are emotional human beings and we have ups and downs. But if I can get people in the community to a place where they're like consistently feeling a sense of confidence about themselves on a daily basis, I think that's very life changing, for a lot of people. Four is enhancing communication and assertiveness. And some of you may see that word assertiveness and be like, oh my gosh, because maybe you're like a person who's like, I don't like being assertive. I don't like talking to people. I don't like whatever. And maybe you struggle with that over the years, really standing up for yourself or whatever. So there's kind of a process behind enhancing communication. And part of that comes from developing your emotional intelligence. And if you've never heard of this word, I know I'm using some bigger psychological words, but for a lot of you guys, like once you kind of hear them and you really understand them and embrace them, you'll start using them yourself a lot, because it's a good expression of, like, with emotional intelligence. Like, I feel like over the past 3 or 4 years, both me and my husband have developed quite a bit of emotional intelligence. And in our personal life, our communication is so much better, because instead of, I mean, we definitely have our own emotional reactions to things that happen or occur, but because we have worked hard on understanding emotional intelligence and building that, now instead of, like, even if we have some sort of initial reaction to each other or a circumstance, we can take a step back and say, like, why are we reacting this way? Like, is this that big of a deal? You know, and just really taking a step back and saying, like, what is the root of why this emotion is happening for us? And also, emotional intelligence is about understanding other people. Like, there are people in your life who you may feel a certain way about, but at the same time, like, developing empathy for other people is a big deal, because it helps you to better understand them and maybe where they're coming from. And so you don't feel hurt or disappointed by people all the time because you recognize they're just human and they have their own things going on. And by being able to set other people free, you get to set yourself free from these feelings of resentment and things like that. Then we're going to work on building effective communication skills and doing some assertiveness training. So just helping you guys like be able to really stand up for yourself when you need to, and that can be as small as like making it, for some people, that can be as small as like, I'm going to make a return at the store and I really hate confronting people, or like this person overcharged me for this, but like, I don't have assertiveness enough to like get it fixed and things like that. So as simple as that to, some of the people may be facing a little bit bigger challenges, like, how do you be more assertive with your workplace or parents or home or whatever it may be that's kind of being a problem in your life. The fifth thing is strategic goal setting and planning, which I've always been a super fan of. But I think all of these pieces really work together. Like over the years, when I've done so much goal setting with coaching people, especially like in the business world and things like that, I can tell you like 90% of the mastermind groups that I run, we're setting goals, but I can tell you week to week, you get to know people and they feel comfortable in the community and they feel comfortable in the groups. And really what really comes up in the community is not really so much about people's struggle with goals. It's more their struggle with their mindset, right? And so that was why I felt like this was such an important pivot to make, was because of all my years of coaching, like people can set goals all day long, but like if your mental life isn't working, like if it's not, if your mental game isn't backing up your goals, you're not going to reach them. So you can set goals all day long, but all those other pieces have to be in place. I mean, they don't have to all be like perfectly in place, but the more you develop those skills of mindset, the easier it is for you to accomplish the things that you set out to accomplish, because you believe you can, and you believe you can do it despite circumstances or people, because you're taking ownership. That is self-agency. But again, with strategic goal setting and planning, clarifying your vision and goals, we're going to create action plans and working on your unique time management and priorities. Again, based on your personality stuff. Okay, number 6, resilience and stress management. We're going to talk about coping strategies and real stress management techniques, which I think is super important for all of us. Like building a sense of resilience is what gets you to your goals. Like it is a sense of like, no matter what happens or what comes my way, I'm still going to move forward. But again, that forethought that we talked about earlier helps you say, I need to make pivots, I need to make changes because, I'm sorry, self-reactiveness, because I can see this isn't working and I can react to this. I'm sorry, yes, self-reactiveness. Okay. 7, cultivating support and networking. So helping you guys just build your network of support for life success. And again, this doesn't have to be, I'm hoping that it can, part of your network can be the community that we have. And if not, like you can find people in your life, in your community that are a support for you. So we'll continue to work on that as we get to that section. 8 is taking action and embracing change, which is just learning to become more adaptable, as well as develop your own unique success strategy and accommodations, which I'm all about. Because over the years, I think a lot of us pigeonhole ourselves into these strategies for taking action or doing whatever that aren't really wired best for us. And I think you guys know over the years, like I always kind of complained about how I read like the Miracle Morning and I felt like a terrible person. So I was like, why can't I do this? And then I was like, you know what? I'm a night owl, and I would just stay up and get stuff done at night, and it worked for me, and that was fine. But just being able to say, I may not be able to do my strategy like other people, but I'm confident enough to say, I know myself well enough to know that this is going to work. And even when somebody comes along and is like, you should do it this way, you say to yourself, but I know myself well enough to know that if I do it this way, I'm going to do it. Right. So it all really does go together. 9 is going to be evaluating progress and celebrating success, because that's all about learning to become more. Oh, sorry. Somehow I like copied that, I think. Anyway. But we're going to be evaluating the progress that you're making through your goals, and then celebrating successes and being able to look back and say, okay, this didn't work, this did work. And giving you just permission to be like, I did the thing, and have a place to celebrate that. And in the program that we have, I mean, I sent out that kind of list of things that are gonna be coming out every month, but some of the main core pieces are podcast episodes that are gonna be like an addition to my regular podcast, which is about to change. So for members, these podcasts, because I know a lot of people, don't have time to like log in and read and things like that, but they'll be available for you to hear the kind of like audible, like audio lessons about things that are going on. If I need to physically show things, I could do videos, but for the most part, I just want to dive into things via these in-depth podcast episodes. And I'm doing my best to deliver everything I can via email. So people don't have to like go try to log in. Like you can just go into the email if you need to, which is quick and easy. We're gonna have workbooks and hands-on tools, just like the ones we had this month that I've already put out there for you guys. And then we're going to have these workshops every month, and we can do Q&As, and we have our Facebook group. So I'm just really excited about everything. So if you guys have your little workbook, it's okay if you don't. I would love for you guys to kind of go through this when you get a chance and really try to do it like once a quarter, just to kind of check in with yourself. So that's why I have the date line at the top of the first page. It's going through questions like, how often do you make decisions based on your own needs, desires, or values rather than external pressures and expectations? When faced with a challenge, do you typically feel empowered to find a solution, or do you feel stuck and dependent on others for direction? And the best thing you can do in this worksheet is really just be honest with yourself and answer the questions really honestly, because I think at the end, number 11 on page 4, it says, have you had any aha moments while going through these questions? If yes, jot them down here. If you have any moments like where, you know, you think of something, and I honestly encourage a lot of you guys, like, consider doing maybe this work in this workbook like before you go to bed, because interestingly enough, like the brain works through a lot of problems and creates meaning and things like that, like as you sleep. And so it's possible that if you were to do this the night before, you'd wake up the next morning, and while you're taking a shower or doing a walk or whatever you're doing, you might have like your aha moment might not come immediately. So these are just things to like consider or whatever. And the point of this is to kind of help you start being comfortable with yourself, like comfortable talking about you as an autonomous human being in the world. Like, how do you feel? Like, how do you see the world? What is it like for you? Um, and I feel like with question number 1, there may be people who read, how often do you make decisions based on your own needs, desires, and values rather than external pressure or expectations? Some people may struggle with that because you have a sense of family duty or anything else like that. And that's a hard thing for some people to kind of like navigate for a lot of different reasons. And so as you're kind of look at those questions, just keep in mind, like, it's just you being honest with yourself. And it's not there's nothing about this stuff that is trying to get you to like, you know, be mad or resentful at people in your life. It's just trying to get you on the same page with yourself, like just giving you permission to get real with you. That's the point. So if anybody has any questions, I'm going to end the talk right now and just take questions or chat or whatever you guys want to do. But stop the share. And I know some of you guys popped in. Sorry, I didn't see. I don't know how much you saw or how much you missed, but that's kind of the basic parts of the program. And does anybody have questions or things you want to talk about this evening in regards to like what's going on or what's changing or anything? I'll do my best to answer them. I don't know if anybody put anything in chat either. Yeah. Sounds like no one has questions. I think, has anybody tried doing the questions? It's okay if you haven't. I just am curious if anybody's done any of the worksheet stuff. It's okay, like I said, yeah, okay. But I think it's going to be really helpful for some people to kind of go through it. Like I said, this was recorded, so if you guys missed anything in particular, like you can go back through. But I just felt like there's been for a few years, I've been just like, how do I help more? And I always felt like I was helping in one way, but then I realized, like I said, through just the years of working with people, that like the component that's really missing for business or personal life or anything else is just the mindset stuff. And if I can really, I think if I can help people transform their mindsets, like all the other stuff kind of follows. So and it's been a long time since I feel like I feel like Sheila is always a person who's like, Kim, you should just do what you do best, which is like encourage people and like motivate people. And it took me a while to figure out like how do I do that in a way that's like really effective, not just like I motivated for you for this week, but like actually hopefully helping people change the way they see themselves so that they can live that way and not just get by, I guess, week to week with smidgets of motivation or encouragement. So we can also chat about other things if you want. It doesn't have to be questions. Nice to see you, Sarah
I know
and
Sarah
Rachel.
group. I'm
Are
trying to think. She and
you
I,
asking questions, Pam? Because I see your mouth moving, but nothing's coming out. Okay.
I, I just saw Sarah pop up, and I know her from. We did a mastermind together,
Yeah.
like 18, something like that. Good to see you, Sarah. So, just an idea of the structure is: are we going to work on, like, are we going to work on one of these discussion topics for, or is it going to be like a module, and we'll do it for a month?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just gonna try to take like each like module and like focus on it. And some of them are, I mean, they're going to be more than a month. Some of them would be more like 2 months or something, but I want to do it in a way that's like very actionable and not overwhelming and bite size, if that makes sense. So my plan between now and the beginning, well, not because it's like a week away, but between now and October, I want to do like deep dives with some of the self agency stuff and then get directly into the second module where we start working on whatever I said was in that one. My brain's like, but whatever the second one is that I discussed, like we'll get into that and talk about like all the pieces of that and how we'll develop that. And like all the like the free podcasts that come out will be related to that, if that makes sense. So it's going to be just all building on that. And hopefully, if you hear enough of it and you can apply enough of it, it starts to stick.
And
Yeah.
so will there be two separate podcasts, or are you doing?
There's a free podcast,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna record private podcasts that will be you should get if it all works technology wise. I should be able to send private links from my podcast player, but I can also upload them into the school. I just don't know how often people, I'm being real, like I don't know how often people log in, right? Because it's one more place to go or be or whatever. And if I can just shoot it an email and you can listen to it during carpool, that's fine. Or whatever you're doing, cleaning or walking or whatever, walking dogs, who knows? So, yeah. But again, hopefully, like everything else, like, and it's, for a long time, I based everything sort of on individual situations and kind of like individual people and like how they were, like whatever business they were operating on or whatever. And this to me feels it's like cohesive enough that it can be repetitive and you know what I mean? Like it has structure. So that structure creates the ability for people to like internalize because it's repeated. I don't mean like repeated like excessively, but just like through different tools or talks or anything else, it can sink in. Like something can sink in and hopefully help people make change.
I've heard it said that we have to hear something 5 or 6 times to even start to absorb it. So um,
Yeah. I'm just gonna grind this into you guys. And hopefully you'll hear it enough that like in the next 6 months, people will start to be like, I feel different about myself. Hopefully. Some of you guys may already, have a lot of this. I mean, I know Pam, you do coaching and kind of like self-help stuff too. So, there's parts of this that's probably familiar to you as well already, and you know,
But
you
it's easy
just work.
enough to tell somebody else how to do it, but to put on a face and do it, Kim. I mean, you know, I we've been together for a long time, and um, I like October 2nd, I'll start teaching yoga for women who have suffered military sexual trauma as a step down to, for regulating their nervous system. But 5 or 6 years ago when I met you, that's not at all what I was.
Right, right.
And and even though I know, um, I am just shitting big bricks right now because I have to do it now, even though I know that I know that I know. And
Yeah,
so, I'm constantly talking to myself, you can do this, I know I can do it. I've done it. But
yeah.
so,
So hopefully all I can do is like be that reinforcement to like what you know about yourself so that you're like day by day. I think, I mean, I don't know. Like I just know that like years ago I was a person who like second guessed myself constantly and did all these things. And it is work. Like to work on yourself is work. And I know like I had one conference that was a little bit like it was this really small conference. It had like 6 or 7 people. And when we did it, I remember like thinking, I'm kind of used to the bigger environment, but in this case, like what came out again wasn't business. It was this is what's holding me back. Like, and when you have 3 or 4 people break down and are crying and like having all these things going through, like that means there's a bigger issue there
mhm.
that's like standing in somebody's way from getting there. And sometimes unless we give ourselves, because I think as women, like we push and we push and we push and we push because most of the time we don't have space for ourselves. And the concept of self-care for us is, oh, I should take a bubble bath. Or like, I should go get my nails done, right? Which is still good. Like, I'm not making fun of anybody because I do that. But I'm just saying, like, that is a form of external self-care, but half of us are really screwed up internally. And I can't, I'm not a therapist, so I'm certainly not going to fix that part of you, but hopefully I can push you to push yourself. And if you get to a place like I know, like some of you guys, I know you already go to therapists and things like that, but maybe through this process of giving yourself permission, you have more things to talk to your therapist about, which then you can work through. You know what I mean? Like, so hopefully it's just a piece of your mental health puzzle that hopefully helps you with whatever you need to help you with, basically.
Well, I've learned that therapy looks back and coaching looks forward. And so the two work very well hand in hand. But I know that for myself, I can get stuck in just doing therapy
Right.
because
And even for me, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Pam. What were you gonna say?
I said I can get stuck in therapy because somebody validates me.
Yes. And the forward movement, I think, is the harder part in some ways. Like, I mean, I think it's hard to address your past, but being able to say like this, I'm going forward now despite the past is it can be very difficult for people. So I just want to hopefully be a catalyst, and I think trust myself enough to know like throughout the history of my life, like my whole life's pointed towards something like this, but I didn't know it until I did it myself. Like, and I think I mentioned this in the email, but it was almost like for me to get here, I had to break. So in breaking, and I don't think that everybody initially, like, I don't want people to freak out and hear this from like, Kim's gonna try to break me because that's not what's happening here. That's just my story of like, I had to get to that place. Um, but it may require some of you to visit hard things, and like it may require you to cry a little bit, where it may require you to face something that you haven't really faced, and it may potentially bring up something you didn't even know was there. But I think that's kind of part of living, right? Like to like really live is to like do hard things for like for yourself. Like, and if we're just sort of coasting and we're not digging in, like, are we really living? Or are we just kind of surviving? I don't know, but I feel like I'm living now. So that's nice. So anyway, you guys are so awesome. And I know that the people that are here, you guys have been cheerleaders or advocates or supporters for years. And I really appreciate that. Um, more than you know. So again, thanks for being here. And again, like I really, really hope that you guys benefit. Like I said, I don't want it to be overwhelming in any way for anybody, so I'm gonna try to do it as lightly but as heavily as I can. I don't really know how to express that, but anyway. I didn't get to say anything to Sarah, but she had to leave. But anyway, does anybody have any questions or anything else? And I'll just let you guys get back to whatever you were doing this evening. No. All right. Well, have a lovely evening and we'll keep doing stuff like this.